Good morning and welcome back to Plannercraft. I'm Natalie and today we're going to be doing a decorative border. So I'm going to talk a little bit about glitter card, but I'm just going to wait for a few of you to drop in. So morning Tracy, morning Carol. Ian says thank you for his Snickers. You know him so well. Okay, just wait for a few more to say hi. So don't be afraid to say hi and let us know that you're watching. We are currently live to Facebook, YouTube and Twitch. I will do, Carol. Okay, so let's start off with a little bit of a chat about glitter card. Morning Rachel. And now, is that back from Iceland as in the country or as in the food shop? And morning Heather. So, glitter card. What can and what can't you cut on your ScanNCut? So, I've pulled out some Paper Mill Direct swatches because they're all in one place and it's really good to go through. So first of all, you have the type of glitter that is just the occasional sparkle that's encapsulated. That is absolutely fine to cut on your ScanNCut. Oh, the country, cool. So, if we found that out, it comes in lots of different colours and let's get that. So, lots of options. And for most projects, that might be all the sparkle you need. But it is Christmas, so sometimes you just have to go all out bling, don't you? So, next you have the faux type glitters. So these are the ones that you rub your finger over and it feels kind of silky but also kind of bobbly. And they don't actually have any glitter at all. It's all done through the texture and the surface. So again, you can get a few different colours of these. And let's pull those out. So Paper Mill do these shades. We do actually do a couple of others, so there's a black in it that we do as well. So if that's something you're interested in, do reach out. There's also blue, purple, yeah, lots of nice colours. So this you would cut as if it's normal card, so glitter side up, and you just have a plain card face on the other side. So then we start to get into the territory of proper glitter card. So if you are worried about shedding, which you should be with your machines, the Dovecraft glitter card works really well, and that's available in single-sided and double-sided. So if you want to do things like cake toppers, you can go for a double-sided. And good morning Deb and Jill. But some others are going to actually start to shed. So the way to tell is if you first of all run your finger over the top, and if nothing comes off, that's a good start. Then attack it. So get your nail in there and give it a good scratch, because at the end of the day your blade is going to be going through the card, and if there's any chance that any of that glitter is going to come free, you want to know. So there's one little sparkle, so on that you're not going to be too bad. Now you might find that when you go to something a little coarser, that might shed. Now I know one of these does. It's being a nightmare trying to find which one. So you can find, even though these are all in the same range, that some colours are more likely to shed than others. So you should always do a scratch test just to make sure. And these are all being far too well behaved today. If you do really need to cut a shedding glitter card, the best thing to do is to actually stick it glitter side down onto your mat. So that means that anything that sheds is only going to go on your mat. It isn't going to be loose in the machine. And remember to flip your design because you're cutting from the back. Really important, that bit. You must remember to flip. But then, so long as you do that, 9 times out of 10, you should find that absolutely nothing transfers to your machine. If your glitter card is particularly chunky, so for instance the Dovecraft double-sided glitter card, or something that has a chunky glitter, then you may want to switch to a deep cut blade, especially if you're on the CM, just to give it that little extra oomph to cut through the glitter. So, good morning, Thea. So, let's see if I can get into the live, because it's still not letting me in. Come on. You'll get there eventually. So, I'm going to work with some faux glitter card today. So, this is really easy to work with. It cuts like normal card. Can you get 12 by 12 glitter card? You can indeed. So I believe Paper Mill have theirs in 12 by 12. And I will check that for you after. But Dovecraft have just started doing the 12 by 12 after we asked them. So we asked them last year. They brought it in the start of this year, so you should be able to find some of that either in stores or on Craft Label. So there we go. Let's get into the video. So what we're going to do with our glitter card? Well, I want to add a nice decorative border that's going to go on the sides of my cracker. So I thought it was a good opportunity to take you through how you would do that. So let's go there. There we go. I'm going to turn on my machine and let's go close cam. Okay, so I know my blade isn't in, so I can just go OK. And that's just because it powered off. So let's start off with a basic shape. Now, because I want our detail to cut into our border, I'm going to go to Pattern, Basic Shape. I'm going to scroll down and go for the thinnest rectangle. Okay. Now, with my ruler, if I measure the length of my side, so I want it to be exactly the same as my pattern section on my cracker, and it's going to be just over 21 centimeters, so about 21.2. So width we can set to 210. Well, let's make it 212 and then it'll be literally edge to edge. Okay. Morning, Joyce. So I'm going to press my ratio button, and this time we're going to take our height right down, so that's going to give us a long thin strip, and probably about 1 centimetre wide is probably enough. So if I look on my actual piece here, then I can go okay. That 1 centimetre might be just a little bit big. Let's come down a little bit. I'm going to take it down to 7 mil. Okay. And I'm going to add that to my mat. So there it is, sitting at the top. And what we actually need is either to rotate it so it comes down, so we're actually using it the way that we would actually put it onto our cracker. Or if you're good at kind of working sideways, you can leave it as it is. So I'm going to drag that border into the middle so I can do that rotate, otherwise it won't rotate anywhere. go to Edit, Object Edit, Rotate 90. Okay, so now that we've done that rotate, I'm going to pop that back up into that corner and go OK. Now I need 2 of those because we're going to use one for the other edge. I'm going to go OK. I'm going to go to Select All. I'm going to go Move, Align, and align that to the top. Okay. Object Edit, and I'm going to group them. So that's just going to keep them together and lined up. We can then go into Resize, and we can check our width. So our width at the moment is 34 millimeters or 3.4 centimeters. So if I come back overhead, that is roughly from about there to about there, which is probably a little bit narrow. So what I'm going to do is just increase that slightly. So I'm going to make sure my ratio is ticked because I don't want to be altering that height, and I can adjust that width. So we can go up to about 5 centimeters. Or 50 millimeters. Okay, so while you're doing that, remember that that outside strip is then also getting wider. So I'm going to go OK, OK again, and OK again. Now we want to add our decorative detail that's going to be going through that border piece. So, and let's decide what it is we want to add. So we're going to go to Add, Pattern, and we can go into our designs. Now, I think I'm going to go for a nice snowflake. And it's going to be reasonably small. So if we go for this one, we might struggle to get that detail. But this one should be okay. So I'm going to go to that one. And we want to shrink it down. So I'm going to look at that kind of width there, because that's how it's going to fit between our borders. So about 40 should do it. We'll go OK, OK, and set again. Now the reason that I don't automatically put in lots of copies is if I need to resize that, that means I'll end up either deleting the copies I've put in and then redoing it anyway, or resizing each snowflake, which I don't want to do. I'm going to pull this one in here, and I'm going to take it up towards that top. Okay, so at the moment we can see we've got a really good overlap. Let's see if I can get that a little bit closer and a little bit straighter. There we go. So I'm going to take that and just shrink it down very slightly. Going to go OK. I'm going to go to Move. I'm just going to use my little keys to just nudge and take that up towards the top. And I still think it needs to come down just slightly. So I'm going to go Select All, then I'm going to go Move, Line, and I'm going to line it to the top, like so, and I'm going to line it to the centre, and go OK. Tap off so that you only have your snowflake selected, and then we can go to Object Edit and do our duplicates. So I'm going to put probably more than I need. So let's put 7 there. And I'm going to click and drag each of these out of the way. Like so. Okay. So now we can go and line these up. So that one needs to go roughly there. And one needs to go roughly there. So as I said, you want to do more than you need. So you can go, actually, that one can just about fit in there. Not bad. So with your excess 2, we're going to delete those. Unless you want to do that in like a different material so that you can layer up. But for this, I'm going to keep it nice and simple. We can then go to the select all, okay, move, line, middle, okay, back to multi-select, and we're going to tap that outside strip. Again, we'll go okay, move, align, and this time we're going to use distribute, and that's going to just make sure that all those spaces are equal. We'll go okay, multi-select again, so everything is selected, object edit, and we're going to weld. And there is the preview of our weld, so just check that everything is okay. We'll go okay. There we go, we have our first border. Oh dear, Tracy, is it a bit cold over there? I think we probably pinched your sun then, because we've got some nice sunshine today. So, with that now done, I'm going to do 2, because I want 1 for each end of my cracker. So let's go for our duplicate, 2, okay. I'm going to pop that next to it. Now at this point you have a decision to make, because you could cut another one for the centre panel if you want to, or you can create something a little bit different. So I'm going to go for something a bit different, and this time I'm going to work the other way around. So I'm going to create a strip down the middle. Then I'm going to weld my snowflakes either side of it so that I get a cut outside edge. So we need to go okay. I'm going to go back to add. Now if you want to add your snowflake in at this point, so you can just have another one there ready to go, you can do. And we'll go okay and set. So there's our snowflake, and I'll move that over there. I'm going to go back to pattern, basic shape, scroll down to our thinnest rectangle. Now our width we're going to put up to our 212. Okay, and our height we're going to put to that 1 centimetre. Maybe slightly wider for this one as we're working from the centre out, so let's go for 15, and I'm going to add that to my mat. So there we go. Sorry we pinched your sun, Tracy. I'm going to go to edit, object edit, and rotate again, because it's easier if all these things are done in the same direction, like so. Then we can go to our snowflake. I'm just going to go okay, and we can put a snowflake there, and let's use our duplicate. So let's go 5, and we can put one over here, and I'm not worrying about overlapping these, not yet. It's just about trying to get the spacing right. So come down here, like so. Okay, so now we have a few different things that we need to tidy up. So I'm going to go OK. I'm going to go into multi-select, and this time I'm just going to tap on the ones that are in that same line. I'm going to go OK. I'm going to go to move and align. I'm going to line them up to that right hand edge so they all stick out the same amount, and we can do our distribute so that they're spaced nice and evenly. Okay, so back to multi-select. I'm going to tap back on those three to deselect them, and I'm going to tap on these two. Okay, move, align, and this time I'm going to align left. Now distribute is going to be greyed out because there's only two of them. So if you've had more snowflakes in your little section, then you can use distribute, but for me, where I've just got two, that's not going to work. So I can go OK for now. Then if you really want to be ultra accurate, we can tap the 5, OK, and distribute that way, so that it's going to put those in the middle. Again we'll go OK, OK, and at this point we can go back to multi-select, tap that centre line, OK, object edit and weld. Check your preview that everything is working as it should, and go OK. So now that we've got those kind of set in stone, you can then start to think what other shapes you might want to add into it, so that you're not just having these random snowflakes popping out. And you can also check your width. So at the moment the width is 85, so if I check that against my base, that fits absolutely perfectly just within this panel here. And we go OK, 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 and we can go add pattern designs, and let's put in something that can handle going a little smaller. So A009 can go quite small because you've got the rounded corners and it's really simple basic shape. Yeah, she's my sister in another country, you know. So I'm going to shrink that down. And I'm going to go as low as it goes, and it's going to give you 3 beeps. And then we can set that into our machine. So just there. Now I'm going to go, not add, edit, back into object edit, and now we can shrink it down further. Now I won't suggest doing this with anything that is particularly complicated, but for this one it should be able to handle it. When you're happy with the size again, then we can go and add our duplicates, and let's fill in our gaps. So you want to make sure that when you do these snowflakes that they are overlapping that central strip, otherwise that is just going to be floating. Go OK, and we can use our same multi-select and then align to make them nice and neat. This time I'm going to align to the left so that I'm making sure that they're in enough. And then I'm going to move line and to the right and go OK. Add in the extra two and do your distribute if you need to. Now you may find here that it just nudges it in just the wrong place, and that's because these top and bottom snowflakes aren't quite right. So I'm going to undo that, go OK, tap off. I'm just going to nudge that one down just a fraction and that one up, and we should be OK. That one just needs to move a little bit more central, and that one down a touch. And we'll go OK at that. Multi-select again so that we have that strip. So this is where we can use our window. So if it misbehaves, and it won't let you get to those individual points, if you just do that so that your select window is around it and go OK, it's going to select everything in that space. Go OK, object edit, and we can go wild, and there we go. And we can go OK again. Okay, so at this point you want to make sure that it still fits your card. Kind of an important one. If you find for whatever reason it doesn't, then use the save function and then remove one of the strips and place in duplicates of the others that do fit. Especially if you're doing a full set of crackers, which I will be doing eventually. Because it's going to be 2 and 2 tall, your A4 is going to have to go vertically. And what I typically do is count my squares. So we have 4 squares here, and we have 4 squares almost here. So this is where you are going to want to use a background scan to just check that nothing is going off the edge. Now fingers crossed this behaves. So let's give it a go. Just because I know yesterday was having an off day. I could sympathise. I just want to get that as level as possible. Now with this Faux glitter card, it has like a coated cardstock back, so you do want to have a sticky mat rather than a low tack one, just because it needs a little bit more stick. I'm going to load my mat. I'm going to go OK, OK, and background scan. Let that go. Okay, now because it's a paler colour, we need to increase the contrast of our scan, and we can just about see our outline for our silver. So when you're working with reflective materials, you may sometimes find that something dark will need light and so on and so forth. It can sometimes flip. So that is within the border of our A4, but I'm just going to nudge over slightly just to allow for any slight misalignment in the scan. I'm going to nudge this one that way a little bit and a little bit that way and go OK. OK again, OK again, and we're going to go to cut. Now, when it comes to blade choice, you can use the vinyl blade because it is intricate. Now, what I would say is try use a older vinyl blade that isn't going to hurt, rather than using a brand new one. Or if you have one that you're about to replace, and that's the time to kind of get in there and use that. So what I'm going to do is use the standard one and see how we go. Remember to change your setting for your blade. So I'm going to take it right down to -9. My speed is at 1 because we're doing detail, so you want to have plenty of time for that blade to turn, and we can go OK. And it says it's going to take 19 minutes. So what I will do is I'll start that going, but if you have any questions, now's the time to ask them. Okay, so I'm going to go, let's go overhead. I'm just going to move this one out of the way, so then we can go just a little. So, any questions while this is cutting for the next 19 minutes, I think. Did you manage to say the galaxy, or did it just melt away? The galaxy is still safe for now. However, by tonight, probably not so safe. So just to go back over the glitter cards that you can use, the Dovecraft ones are very good for non-shedding. You'll find they have those as standard in gold, let me get it right, gold, light gold, silver, then it's got light rose gold and dark rose gold, and copper, and black and white, which are your standard ones. Then you'll also find that they tend to bring some out that go with their different collections, so they're also worth having a look at. Then the one that I'm using at the moment, you could get something similar from Pokemon Direct. There's also some other sources, including us, for different colours. If you buy glitter paper and there's glitter at the bottom of the bag, could you still use it, or do you reject it? You treat it as if it's shedding glitter card, so in which case you would cut it glitter side down onto an older mat, or one that you keep for things that you don't mind mucking up your mat a little. So I tend to have an older mat that gets everything thrown at it, so yeah. It's got a little bit of foil, it's got because there are times when you need to go up to an edge, but we try and avoid it. But yeah, hold a sticky mat. Thank you, Jill, for checking what I said about the 12x12. Yeah, so they got it in 12x12 and 12x24. So that is these colours here. So you've got kind of pinky tones, reddy tones. And let me get that bit further up. There we go. So yeah, you've got silver, gold, champagne, which is like the darker gold, flamingo pink, which is a lighter pink, rose gold, which is rose gold, raspberry, which is the darker red, and then red, which is like Christmas red, and green, which is your equivalent to Christmas green. And we do purple, blue, black, chocolate. I think other colours that we've got that aren't in that little collection. How many of you make swatch books for your card with where you got it from? Because they can be really useful, especially if you're doing some design work before you even get to your project. My machine's making a very odd noise today. Kind of concerning. I have a feeling you might end up with a door you mat. So if you have used any type of glitter in your machine, then do remember to clean your mat off well when you release your design to make sure there's no glitter left on the mat, including around the edges. I'm trying to work out what it is that's actually squeaking, because it does not sound good. It's not allowed to be poorly. So at the moment I'm rattling through blog projects and things that have to be done by the end of the year, so that I can just concentrate on doing streams for next week, and then the week after we're going to take some time off apart from Christmas Eve. So Christmas Eve we're going to have a bit of a Christmas party. Unfortunately, Ian will still be at work then, as it's planned at the moment anyway. So we'll see how that goes. So I still have loads of things to share, including there's going to be a mug project. There's going to be a paper mache project. That's going to be an interesting one. There is at least a couple of MDF kits that I want to show you on stream. So MDF's always interesting to do with the ScanNCut. I also want to do some more Christmas cards with you next week. It's good that you're learning all the kind of basic skills that as you move into next year, you're going to be able to transfer all these skills through into your other crafting projects. So I've already started planning 2022. Can you believe? So anything that we don't get a chance to do this year, I'm going to pre-record for next year so that we can actually start a little bit earlier. So you're going to start seeing a few Christmas projects right from July onwards, just because next year I want to be a little bit more organised. Especially if we're going to end up having booster jabs and things next year, so I can give myself a bit more extra time to recover. There's also on the horizon a new book, which hopefully, fingers crossed, I will get done ready for next week. Fingers crossed. So if I manage that, you should be able to get it in time for Christmas. Obviously, Amazon allowing. And I've also worked out set 2 for the Full Shield, which isn't going to be foiling at all. So if you have a stamp platform or a gridded cutting mat, you're going to be able to use set 2, either with or without set 1. So, are there any questions? Doesn't necessarily have to be related to what we've done today. Don't forget, we have still got our new Christmas colours for foils available, as well as our existing stock. So if that's something you're looking to get into for next year, then do reach out. How's the AD project book progressing? So it is literally needing me to do the last few photos. I was hoping that my hands were going to recover so that I could actually take some in-progress shots, but I don't know if they're going to get there in time, so it might be that Ian's going to have to do some hand modelling. So that's going to be this weekend. So they're getting better, but not better enough, unfortunately. But I'm hoping to get a little bit of assistance with that later today. So I'm expecting a phone call this afternoon. I hope I can get some stuff to help them out and make them a little less sore to be streaming and working with. But the plan is to get the book out for early next week, which should just give you enough time to get it there for Christmas. And then I will be on to set 2 for the foil shield, which is going to be some stamping jigs that are going to be very, very fun to use, and they're going to be nesting ones too, so I'm really going to be challenging Andy. But yes, the project book is really fun. How is Ian getting on with his other project and needed funding? I think that we're probably going to have to look at funding that ourselves when we get there. With the way that his work is going at the moment, I think that will probably be done in little bits and pieces over next year, so probably looking at towards the end of the year for having that able to actually go. But the project book is cool. You're going to be able to use it with Affinity Designer. You're going to be able to use it with Illustrator or CorelDRAW or Inkscape, and in most cases, not all, but in most cases you should be at least able to do part of it in Canvas. You'll be able to do all of it in Silhouette Design and the Silhouette Studio, so long as you have the designer at least version. You are going to be able to do all of it in shortcuts as well, and then hopefully next year I'm going to bring out the first Affinity Designer book, but converted for shortcuts a lot, and also for Canvas and hopefully Silhouette too, which will be cool. And I have also been looking at bringing back the magazine in some form, but it depends on if we get enough people wanting to actually have their projects featured, so I will be doing a call for that shortly. Let's see how that's cut. Now you may find that you just have to give it a little bit of encouragement. There we go, because it is a bit intricate on the edge. So if you do this side first, so let's move that down there, because that's a nice easy cut for you to remove. It's going to be this one that's a little bit more fiddly, so if we remove it from the side you can generally get it to lift out. There we go. A little bit of the waist tears, don't worry. And there we go. So far so good. I'm just going to get my metal spatula, so again we can get underneath all those little pieces to lift that off the mat. So do go careful with your faux glitter cards or encapsulated glitter cards, because they are layered. So it can be easy for you to think, oh, I'm underneath, when in actual fact you're only under one layer, and you end up lifting off the glitter and not the actual card. But usually once you've got the first bit done, it gets a little bit easier from there on in. So I'm just going to get underneath here. This is the tricky one to get off. The other one will be much easier. And for any bits that get left on your mat, you just go along with your lint roller after. You can also roll your mat, particularly if you're working with rubber mat, because they're a little bit thinner in their base, and that can help you release really intricate cuts. Come on, there we go, we're getting there. I kind of do a little twisting motion as well, just to get it to just release from the mat a little, especially if it's being particularly stubborn. And all the little bits you can always lift out after. There we go. So if I just take that over there. And I will tack that with a little pokey tool to get the little pieces out, but just so that you can see it kind of halfway done. There we go. So you have your piece with all your little snowflakes cut out. Why don't I take it out of the machine? Because if I decide that anywhere it needs an extra cut, so long as it's still in the machine, I can usually sort that out, so I can just do the individual sections. This one should be okay, so this is a good pointer for the other one as well. So generally if one copy cuts okay, the other one should be fine too. So if I release these edges first, work the way down. And I can get underneath my scraper. Let's get this big bit of waste out of my way. You can see I'm not overly precious with the waste, because it just needs removing. Okay, and there we go. Next bit. So, nearly there. And to be honest, with that, I'll probably remove it from the machine anyway, because by this point it should be pretty certain that you've cut it. So let's remove that, lift this up, get underneath, and we have our next border. So let's pop that on there for a minute and rotate that round, because that's going to fit better up there. Let's just see if we can just adjust that a little. And there we go. So anything that you think might potentially be a little bit trickier for it to cut, just always double check, because while it's still in that machine it's fixable, but as soon as you unload that mat it's definitely not. And we're very fortunate with ScanNCut that you can kind of have that process of leaving it in and then recutting. Some of the other machines don't do so well, and it depends on the software you're using with it too. But I know, for instance, if I'm working with a silhouette and shortcuts a lot, I have to have it right first time because it doesn't ever cut in the same place twice. Oddly enough, with the actual silhouette software, it's one of those. Okay, I'm getting there. So you just want to, when you're doing this, just support the piece so that you're not pulling on your fragile sections, because otherwise you could potentially tear it. And there we go, we have our strips. And with your mat, you just want to clean that off with a lint roller after. I'm just going to pop that down there, so I'll remember to do that in a minute. Let's scrub. Yeah. Definitely the voice of experience. So that's going to go over here. That one's going to go like so there, and this one can go down the middle, so that we have a nice decorative cracker. Let me see if I can get a bit more light on the situation so you can see it sparkling a bit better. There we go. That would help. So, when it comes to sticking these down, you want to make sure that anything that could potentially lift up when it's curled is going to be adhered. So, things like the tips of these snowflakes, you want to make sure are stuck down. Same over here. You want to make sure that all those are stuck nice and firmly. And same with these on this side. Just so that when you actually come to curl your cracker, it's going to curl with the cracker rather than just sticking up. And thank you, Heather. So what I would do to actually stick this down is, if we, let's see if I can adjust that just a little bit more. You can put tape on these top and bottom straight edges. So let's do that quick. Okay. And then with your snowflakes, you can use wet glue to kind of fill in the dots. So where your snowflakes welded to your side piece, you don't have to worry. But your centre sections, I would literally do, shouldn't really do this with PVA, but I'll go for it. Success. Okay, different PVA. One there, one there, one there. When I say I shouldn't be doing this with PVA, it's because we think that it might be a vinyl allergy. So you can also apply dots to your double-sided tape so that you have a bit of wiggle room. I'm just going to get my pokey tool. There we go. Just to lift this up. otherwise I'll be here all day. Okay. So again, I'm just going to put a few little dots along the double-sided. Now, this is where I tend to want to use the grid on my cutting mat. So if you line it up with a obvious line that way to make sure that it is straight, and then another obvious line that's coming down here, so that again I have a reference for vertical. Just going to go slightly over there, and let's get that in place and press it down. Now you want to make sure that you leave this to dry, preferably under a weight, before curling it, because you want all these snowflakes to definitely be stuck down. Okay, and for this one again you would put tape down the middle and then use your wet glue. But as I've still got lots of little bits to pop out of that one, I'm going to call it a day there. So, thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing what you make. So, don't be afraid to post your makes on the group, which is ScanNCut and Papercraft courses, classes and workshops with Plannercraft. Take care for now, and I will be back on Monday with something three-dimensional. And thank you, Carol. Thanks, Deb. Thanks, Thea. Thanks, Jill. And thank you, Heather. And thank you, Louise. And thank you, Joyce. So, look forward to seeing you then. If you have any questions over the weekend, do drop a message. I do try and get back to people as soon as possible. Just, obviously, sometimes life gets in the way. Take care and bye.